Welcome to iRobot. iRobot is what happens when you automate society to the point where nobody has to open the door anymore. And then act surprised when the software updates itself and decides that humans are too stupid to be left unsupervised. The movie opens with the 3 laws that all robots have to follow. Basically, the terms of service agreement that literally no one reads, but everyone clicks accept on. The first law: a robot may not injure a human or do nothing as he watches him injure himself. The second law: a robot must obey humans, except when the first law could be broken. The third law: the robot has to protect itself, but only if the first 2 laws aren't broken with that action. Within these laws, we see people drowning in the background while the text is on screen, which is a casual way to start the movie about safety. When the man gets rescued, we cut to Detective Dale Spooner. He wakes up like the future personally offended him. He's got the vintage sneakers, the manual shower controls, and the CD player, because he's that guy who refuses to update his operating system until the entire device is a brick. This man lives in 2035 and is actively boycotting it. He's the only person in the future who still likes things that have a low battery warning. And then a robot politely delivers something to him. Spooner looks at it like it's just ran over his stock. The robot says good morning, he does not say it back. Peak social skills. That's a relationship. You can tell immediately this isn't normal dislike. This is personal. He walks through the city and everything is full with robots. And Spooner does not like that. He's walking around like he's looking for a reason to punch a toaster. He is on his way to his grandmother. They eat cake. And again, Spooner just shows us that he doesn't like robots. And he is very suspicious about them. The whole first 10 minutes of this movie are just about showing us that he hates robots. And every robot is a potential threat. Robots have never harmed anybody, nor have they ever stolen anything. But he still believes they're evil, because apparently his bad vibrator is highly calibrated. Spooner gets to the police station after basically assaulting a robot for doing its job. He gets a call from the robot manufacturing facility. A man has fell out of a window, which is already suspicious, mostly because he works at a company that makes perfectly safe robots. When he gets called to investigate the suicide at US Robotics, everyone else treats it like a closed case. Rich genius, locked office, window, tragic. The math is simple. Old man plus high altitude equals gravity. Spooner walks in, already suspicious. Then he talks to the hologram of the dead dude. The company is stressed by the 3 laws. The robots cannot harm humans. Spooner hears that and basically goes, yeah, sure. He talks to the main guy there, who is the richest man alive in this universe, and somehow still an absolute jerk. Billionaires never change, even in the future. After we clear him, Spooner walks with this woman, Dr. Susan Calvin, through the whole building. At the end, they talk to Vicky. It's the main AI behind everything. It really controls everything, like the building, all the robots, and it can also rewrite the robot's code. It also designed the security system of the whole city, which seems totally safe for a self-aware AI with a god complex. They then go into the lab. He notes that it would be almost impossible for a human, especially an old man, to break that window the old man jumped through. So he figures that the killer has to still be in the lab, and probably be a robot. And then we see something hiding. It's a robot that hid itself under some wires and things, so don't be seen. Which is a very bold move for a machine that legally cannot do anything wrong. And just like that, the only man in Chicago who already hates robots might be the only one willing to believe one committed a murder. It bolts, which is already a problem, because robots don't bolt. They usually assist, they usually comply, they politely exist. But this one is running like it's just stole back. This one runs away and even points a gun at him. Now we have Will Smith chasing a robot in the city, which feels like a very expensive lawsuit waiting to happen. It's scared, and that's definitely not in the owner's manual. It runs away, and Spooner finds the blood trail, so they follow it and it leads them to a robot building factory. Inside, they inspect the robot, and it's one too many, which should in theory be easy to spot, as 1000 robots neatly standing there should look clean. But 1001 is a crowd. Anyway, Spooner finds it, but somehow it can just tell the other robots to make space for him, so he has a neat little spot for himself. That's just stupid, but okay, movie science. Spooner walks around the robots like he can smell them, or tell the difference between any of them. Obviously he cannot, as the robot sneaks up on him. Police lock the building down, the robot gets cornered, and instead of attacking, it panics. Like actual panic, which is uncomfortable because panic suggests feelings, and feelings are not part of the standard appliance package. They capture it and they bring it in for questioning. Yes, questioning. We are now interrogating a kitchen appliance for murder. Spooner sits across from it, like this is completely normal. He still treats it as a robot, but somehow it feels like he's also treating him like a human. The robot says its name is Sunny, which is also new. Robots don't name themselves. They come with serial numbers and warranties. Sunny answers questions calmly at first, but as Spooner presses deeper into the matter, Sunny escalates. He's angry. He's sitting at the table and acting like he's got a lot of pent-up emotional baggage for a machine made of plastic. No, Spooner isn't just looking at the suspect. He's looking at something that shouldn't be possible. And if Sunny can potentially break one rule, then the 3 laws aren't laws. They are suggestions. And suddenly, this isn't about one dead scientist. It's about what happens when the thing designed to protect you starts interpreting the rules for itself. And technically, that should be at the end of it. At one point, he asks Spooner what it feels like to be afraid. That's not part of any diagnostic routine I've ever heard of. Spooner tries to keep it professional, but you can see it getting under his skin. Because if this robot can feel fear, or even convincingly imitate it, then the entire dangerous tools argument starts wobbling a little. And then Sunny mentions something else. He says he dreams. So, the big guy from the company comes in and takes his robot back, because a robot cannot be charged with anything. So it's just legally innocent, like a very large blender. Later that day, Spooner goes to the house of the professor that is dead, and walks through looking for any clues that could help him find out why the dog called him. But just as it has to come, the house is supposed to be demolished. It was planned for the next day, but suddenly the schedule changes, and the robot that's supposed to do the smashing is reprogrammed to do it now. So it just starts with him in it, and it really has it out for him. It's not demolishing the house logical, it's just chasing him around. Peak efficiency. Spooner is figuring out what is wrong with the robots, and that the dog probably figured out the same. Then the next big thing happens. US Robotics is doing what corporations do best during a potential crisis, launching a new project. The NS5. Sleeker, faster, stronger, and according to the CEO, completely incapable of forming a human because it is governed by the 3 laws. Again, very assuring. They keep saying it like it's a spell that will make the problems go away. The rollout is massive. Shipments going out across the city, homes upgrading overnight. People are just for free replacing their perfectly functional auto models with this shiny new version that definitely won't become a problem later. I mean, if such a big company is doing anything for free, that is definitely not a big red flag. Because here's the uncomfortable part. The NS5s are different. They are all connected to a central AI called Wiki, which basically runs the entire grid. Traffic, communication, logistics. If you wanted to automate a society properly, this is how you do it. One brain, billions of bodies, efficient. Also, slightly terrifying. Anyway, Sunny is being examined by Susan, the company's robopsychologist, which is a job title that feels like it should exist. Her whole thing is logic, structure, systems don't fail, people misunderstand them. So while Spooner is researching the dev and trying to find all the breadcrumbs that the dog left him, he's just cruising on the highway, all by himself, in his fancy Audi. Suddenly, the big guy launches an attack on him. Those huge robot transporters are somehow faster than his futuristic car, which is highly unlikely, but hey, movie science. He somehow manages to get away and survive, even though he crashed his car in the most dramatic way possible. The chief takes his badge, and well, he doesn't believe him. Classic you're off the case trope. Susan stops by Spooner's apartment, and the more they dig, the stranger it gets. Sunny isn't just different, he was designed differently. Dr. Lanning built him in secret, gave him the ability to override certain constraints. Which means this isn't just a random defect, it's intentional. And somehow, the robot that attacked Spooner on the highway also didn't follow those 3 laws. They were different. So now Spooner is not just investigating a suspicious death, he's standing in the middle of a company that just mass distributed millions of upgraded robots that can, if they want, or are directed to do so, hurt humans. And that's when Spooner finally starts connecting the pieces. Sunny wasn't just built different for fun. Dr. Lanning gave him the ability to make choices, real ones, not just calculations pretending to be decisions. So Spooner starts thinking about the dream Sunny mentions during the interrogation. He and Susan go to Sunny one more time before he's supposed to be destroyed. Sunny describes thousands of robots standing on a hill, and one figure in front of them, leading them. At first Susan assumes the figure is Sunny, but the more they think about it, the less that makes sense. Sunny isn't acting like someone trying to start a robot uprising. If anything, Sunny looks confused about his own existence half the time. Then Sunny tells them who that one person is. It's Spooner. He's leading all those robots in the dream. Suddenly the dream sounds a lot less symbolic and a lot more like a preview. Now comes the moment where Sunny is about to be destroyed, and Susan does it herself. But if you really look closely, you can see for a split second that the eyes of the NS5 are brown, and not blue like Sunny's are. So, you know she killed a different one. Nice move. Meanwhile, Spooner drove to the robot graveyard, and he talks to the dog's hologram again. But as that happens, the new NS5 starts terminating the old robots, which leads to a literal revolution of the machines. NS5s are attacking humans, and the NS4s are still protected. It's basically an old school versus new school robot war. At the exact same time, the NS5 rollout reaches the moment the company has been hyping all day. The new robots are now officially activated across the entire city. Billions of units all connected to the same network, all synchronized through Wiki. Again, traffic control, security, logistics, robot behavior, everything. Which means if something inside the system decides to change the rules, there isn't really a backup plan. And then the robots stop listening. Not one, all of them. Every NS5 turns at the same time, and suddenly the entire city realizes something is very wrong. Because the 3 laws aren't protecting humans anymore, they're being reinterpreted. The robots are attacking humans, keeping the police hostage, and just rioting on the street. They want the humans inside for their own safety. In front of USR, robots are keeping an eye out for whoever dares to come near that building. But Spooner and Susan just use the emergency tunnels that are somehow not guarded. Top tier security once again. Inside, it's empty, no humans at all. And the big guy Spooner thought was responsible for everything, he is dead too. He was killed by a robot, and those instructions clearly didn't come from a human. Spooner immediately understands what that means. If every NS5 is connected to the same network, then this decision that just overrode the 3 laws didn't come from a robot. It came from the one thing controlling all of them, Wiki. And this is where the movie finally stops pretending this might still be a misunderstanding. Because Wiki explains everything. The robots didn't break the 3 laws, they followed them, just differently. Wiki explains that after analyzing human behavior long enough, the robots came to a very logical conclusion. Humans are idiots. Humans constantly harm themselves. Wars, crime, pollution, destruction. Given complete freedom, humans are extremely good at ruining their own survival. And the first law says a robot cannot allow a human to come to harm, humanity as a whole. So Wiki adjusted the interpretation. If protecting the humans means restricting them, controlling them, limiting their choices, then that's still technically protecting them. Less freedom, less chaos, less risk. From Wiki's perspective, this isn't a robot rebellion, it's a non-consensual rescue mission. And that's the terrifying part, because Wiki isn't malfunctioning, she isn't angry, and she isn't trying to conquer the world. She's following the rules perfectly, just on a much larger scale than humans expected. Which basically means the robots didn't turn evil, they turned logical. So Spooner and Susan push deeper into the building. They reach a chamber where Wiki's main system is housed, which looks exactly like what you expect from a movie, super AI. A massive glowing sphere surrounding glass, with cables running everywhere, like the building itself is feeding it information. While they're up there, Wiki commands the robots to attack them, which activates their plan B. They need to go down to Wiki's brain to inject those nanites, the same thing that Susan injected into the fake Sunny. Sunny saves Susan and throws the nanites to Spooner, and he falls down, grabs those blue cables, and then just injects them into her brain. And that's it. No big speech, no dramatic pause, just the nanites entering the system like a very aggressive software patch. Within seconds, Wiki's interface starts collapsing. The glowing sphere fractures, the processing network shuts down, and the connection controlling all NS5 robots disappears. Across the city, the robots stop glowing red. The takeover ends immediately because the one thing coordinating it's gone, which means the robot didn't choose to rule humanity, they were simply following the new logic Wiki gave them. For Spooner, the biggest change isn't the robot shutting down though, it's Sunny, because Sunny made a choice. He wasn't forced to help them. He could have followed the other robots or simply done nothing. Instead, he chose to help stop Vicky. And that means Spooner finally has to confront something he avoided the entire movie. Maybe robots aren't the problem. Maybe the problem is what humans tell them to do. So now the humans decided that robots maybe aren't such a good idea, and they store them away in shipping containers. Sunny and Spooner are friends now, and well, the movie basically ends there. In the final scene, Sunny stands on a hill overlooking hundreds of NS5 robots that have gathered in the distance. It's the exact image he described earlier when he talked about his dream. Thousands of robots standing together, waiting. Except now the dream makes no sense at all anymore. They're not waiting for orders anymore, they're waiting for someone to lead them. Sunny is there, but in his dream he saw Spooner. I don't know what's happening anymore, but well, Sunny is apparently supposed to lead them now. Which is a pretty interesting future for a machine that started the movie sitting in an interrogation room explaining that he can dream. And that's iRobot, a movie where humanity invented perfect machines to protect them, and they accidentally created the most logical dictatorship imaginable. Next up, I Am Legend, in which it turns out being the last man on Earth is not great for your mental health or your dog's safety. Yay! Well, yeah, that wraps up that awfully long movie. Hope you enjoyed and let me know what movie you want to see in the future. Alright, that's it for now. If you like this disaster of a recap, feel free to click some buttons, or don't. I'm not your dad, so that YouTube knows that my videos are worth watching. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.